Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Corner. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty corner for all things Formula E. So the penultimate round of the season at London in the Excel Arena has come to a close. And what could be said for that? Championship winner Jake Dennis is the 2023 Formula E World Champion. And wow. Wasn't that a dramatic way to win it, eh? We knew it was very much advantage Jake Dennis going into this race weekend anyway, but it looked to all be coming undone for Andretti when Jake kept missing the attack modes, or not activated them correctly, missing one of the loops to be able to achieve that, tumbling down the order. We had Envision 1-2 with Buemi playing the wingman seemingly nicely to Nick Cassidy, and then it all came undone for the Envision squad and Nick Cassidy, and it just firmly fell into the lap of Jake Dennis. I've never seen so much bad luck happen to one driver in a race and still was able to clinch the title. It was typical Formula E style, wasn't it? It was all going wrong for him, and then one moment it all started to go right, and that was that. It was absolutely ridiculous. So yes, a Crawl Room champion is yet to be crowned. So let's get into the score, shall we? And we'll see if we can close the gap at the top. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points though. They're sometimes on offer. Some drivers do something extra special during a race, and on the very rare occasion, but becoming more frequent, I do award minus points to those drivers that do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Corner standings then. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. See where your favourite driver is. As mentioned, we're going into the penultimate round now, so the scores I awarded will be added to that total, and let's see if it closes up, see if your favourite driver rises or falls. But yes, just because there's an actual Formula E champion crowned, the Crawl Room Championship is still all to play for. So yes, here we go then. Let's kick off with the scores. So we're going to start, of course, with the race winner, which was Mitch Evans. What a fantastic job he's done this season, Mitch Evans. He was mathematically in with a shout to winning the title, and still realistic, mathematically, but mathematically was never really possible anyway. Not where the likes of Cassidy were during the race at certain stages, not where Jake Dennis ended up finishing, of course. It'd have meant he'd have had to win both races practically, as well as score pole positions, and it just wasn't feasible. It didn't happen for him, but the fact that he was able to even get into the final rounds of the championship, still mathematically in with a shout, despite his teammate taking him out twice this season, I think that shows a lot for Mitch Evans, and he's done a fantastic job this year. It was just the last race, wasn't it? The last race where all three of them were together, and Mitch Evans took Cassidy out and took himself out as well. That's where it all came undone, and that was the only real issue we've seen from Mitch Evans this season. But for Mitch Evans himself this weekend, done a fantastic job to secure the victory. Drove really, really well. Kept out of all the trouble. Kept out of all the trouble in the shenanigans. We'll come to all those when we get to those drivers involved, of course. And for me personally, I think Mitch Evans, for a great weekend's performance, so far anyway, this is just round one, I am awarding him 9 points. Not quite a perfect 10, didn't achieve pole position, but achieved a good solid grid position and was able to pick off the drivers that he needed to when he needed to. Did a great overtake on Sebastian Buemi just as they came outside from the inside arena section, and nipped it up the inside at like turn 5, I think it was. Good move there, good overtake, and capitalised on other people too busy focusing on their main championship rivals that he was like, yeah, okay, I'll just take the win then, and take the win he did. So yeah, a solid 9 points to Mitch Evans. Fantastic job by him. Then we come to Jake Dennis, the Formula E World Champion, as mentioned already. Congratulations, Jake Dennis. It's such a shame that Nick Cassidy missed out the way he has done. These last couple of races just really sums up how badly it's gone for Nick Cassidy. But Jake Dennis has had an impeccable season this season. He's done so well. He thoroughly deserves the title. This is payback for when he lost out a couple of seasons ago when his brakes failed on the Andretti BMW in his debut season. Of course, Mortara and Evans already out on the spot there that race. It was very much advantage Jake Dennis, and then he had a brake-by-wire issue and his car just went spaffing off into the wall, and he was out there when he could have clinched the title himself. So it's nice to see him finally richly rewarded with that. He's done a fantastic job with the Andretti squad. His teammate Lotterer has been nowhere near as being the sole man this season for Andretti. And not only has he carried him, he's carried him to a driver's title. He can't carry him to a team's title on his own, but he's done the best job he can. He's been impeccable, hasn't he? For this race overall itself, he'd done a good job in the race. It was going a little bit wrong though, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Missing the loops twice for the attack mode, looking like he was going to be under pressure, looking like he was going to be slipping down to as low as like 8th, 9th at certain stages, bunching up, was stuck behind Buemi. It just didn't look to be going right for him, but then he knuckled down, found his head, you know, and just thought, right, I need to really hunker down here. He was moaning and kicking off to the engineer. He was saying, where's Pascal? You know, I need some assistance. And I thought, well, that's quite funny. You've got a teammate in Lotterer and you ask him where the fucking Porsches are. Because they've got the same powertrain. You don't give a shit where Lotterer is because you know he's at the back. Yeah, you know, Jake Dennis this race, he's had stressful moments, absolutely. It looked like it was all going wrong for him and it looked like it was going to be Nick Cassidy winning the race, him finishing down in potentially as low as 8th at certain stages, so it looked like the pendulum was going to swing. But in the end, the race unfolded as it unfolded, and Jake Dennis secures a second place finish and, yeah, did a fantastic job to secure the title. So for Jake Dennis, I am awarding him 8 points this race. 8 points I think is fair. I'm knocking a point off for the missing of the attack loops, and I am knocking a point off for the shouting down the radio, because I can imagine it's an high pressure situation. It's why I've not knocked more off, but at the same time I still don't like to hear it as much. But there we go. 8 points to Jake Dennis, and congratulations on your championship. But will you be a Cruel Room champion? Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But for now, 8 points to Jake Dennis and a Formula E champion of 2023. Finishing third place, it is Sebastian Buemi in the Envision racing car. Now, here we go. Here's time for conspiracy talks. Strap yourselves in, because I'm about to be one. Yes, I think there was something very, very fishy there with Sebastian Buemi this race. Something not quite right. Did not sit right with me whatsoever this race with Sebastian Buemi. Yes, initially did a great job, and you thought, right, he's playing the perfect wingman here. He's second to Cassidy, he's got off the line, he's beaten Jake Dennis, that's what he needs to do. He's holding him up, he's slowing him down so Nick Cassidy can get the attack modes. Brilliant, great teamwork. Then something happened that we never saw on camera, where Cassidy slipped from first to third. Evans popped into the lead, Buemi was second, Cassidy third, and then it all came undone, didn't it? So, fair enough, if the team hasn't instructed Buemi to switch places, then I firmly believe that he shouldn't, because as we know, strategy is key in Formula E with terms of positioning of the car. He drops back, then takes an attack mode, it could mean he loses 2 places instead of 1. I'm completely with him on that. The team didn't instruct Buemi to swap with Cassidy, but when Cassidy made that move, wouldn't you have just yielded? But instead he defended twice, and on the second defence he came across and clipped Cassidy's wing. Now, you could just say that was unfortunate, and fair enough, we'll let that one lie, shall we? But he took his teammate out of a championship contention there. And then, when he went for that attack mode after the safety car restart and the red flag after Fenestras, he slowed down. Extremely slowed down. So Jake Dennis was third in a championship winning position. You'd have thought Buemi's job at this point then would have been to go after Dennis and go and get him, because if he was fourth place, it might have meant that Cassidy might have then had a chance. You know, Buemi gets into third, then slows Dennis down, bunches him into the pack, he goes down the order, it means he scores less points and still mathematically possible for the title for Cassidy at next race. But no, instead he loses over 5 seconds to the cars ahead. Causes a big pile up behind, another red flag. And then after the race restarts once again, Buemi sits fourth quite comfortably, has a little bit of a gap to Dennis, doesn't look like he wants to overtake Dennis, but looks like he's quite happy to sit there in fourth. And this magical loss of pace that he had for 2 laps, he didn't lose it. It was like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Like, does not sit right with me whatsoever. I think something was certainly amiss there. Maybe not with Buemi, but maybe with Envision themselves, because when the damage happened to Cassidy, there was no exactly animated faces or shouting and screaming from the team like we've seen in the past with Jaguar, of course, Bird taking Evans out twice. Gets quite animated. There was none of that. They were just sat there with their arms folded. And I thought, something not quite right here. So for Sebastian Buemi, for me, it's -10. -10 on the cruel corner to him. I think there's something going on there. I really, really do. Very bizarre indeed. So yeah, -10 to Sebastian Buemi. I do hold him solely responsible for the incident with Cassidy. If he was told not to let him through or just hold position for now, fair enough, I get that. But Cassidy was coming, just let him through. But he didn't. Cost his teammate a title shot and then seemingly benefited and tried to assist Dennis so that he'd win. Not convinced. But yeah, -10 to Sebastian Buemi. Finishing in 4th place, it is Sam Bird, disqualified on the cruel corner anyway, and that is how he shall remain. 4th place, good enough, I suppose. Good points for Jaguar with Evans winning. But yeah, we don't talk about him anyway. Disqualified. Too little too late for Bird in my eyes. And yeah, that's that about Bird. Finishing just behind Bird is the other disqualified driver of Eduardo Mortara. Finishing in 5th place, and what could be said for his race? Once again, disqualified anyway. But here he is, picking up some good points for Maserati. Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable how many points Maserati have got now, compared to where we were at the start of the season and not scoring points for like the first forever rounds, it seemed. But yeah, Mortara disqualified on the cruel corner anyway. Good to see him pick up a good handful of points for Maserati and for himself as well. But again, too little too late. Finishing in 6th place is Lucas Di Grassi in the Mahindra, heavily benefiting from the chaos and carnage that happened around him, and he kept himself out of trouble. Fantastic job by Lucas Di Grassi this race to score 6th place. I don't care how it happens, you know, it is nice to see Mahindra score a good haul of points there. Really, really is. He deserved it. Done so well. I think this puts him ahead of Neo as well now, doesn't it? I think it does. So, yeah. Very crucial. Good amount of points there, and yeah, for me personally, I've got to think that Lucas Di Grassi is getting a perfect 10 for me, because yeah, it was chaos. Yes, he looked into it. Yeah, he had a poor qualifying, but that's where the Mahindra is over 1 lap. But then you think about it, you think, well, hang on a minute. Lucas Di Grassi kept himself out of trouble the whole race to keep himself in a position to score a good handful of points, and that he thoroughly deserved it. So yeah, for me, it's a perfect 10 to Lucas Di Grassi. Finishing just behind Lucas Di Grassi, it is Dan Tinktum in the Neo. Tree. Yes, qualified 4th place, his joint best effort of the season. Started off well, tried to get up to 3rd, but slipped to 5th. Then slipped down to as low as like 10th or 11th at certain places. But again, rather get involved in the incidents and the problems ahead, he kept himself out of trouble and picks up a good handful of points for Neo. As mentioned, I think that pendulum has now swung, because there's not many points between Neo and Mahindra, so could be a crucial few points here. Nonetheless, though, 7th place for Dan Tinktum, thoroughly deserved, and he deserves 8 points on the cruel room from me. Really does. Done a solid job there, and once again, picking up the points that his teammate isn't. So yeah, 8 points to Dan Tinktum. Finishing in 8th place, it is Norman Nato in the Nissan. No, Norman Nato, Nissan. No. Yeah, Norman's race this race. It's a few points, isn't it? It's solid. Nissan weren't really looking that great, were they, to be honest? They were looking there or thereabouts, but nothing spectacular. And overall for Norman, you know, he's done a good job. He has done a good job this race to pick up a few points. And again, keep himself out of trouble. I think he might have been missing a wing at some point, but I think all the cars were missing wings, weren't they? We'll come to all that travesty in a moment when we get to the drivers affected by that. Antonio Felix da Costa, Sergio Sette Camara. But yeah, for Norman Nato in the Nissan this weekend, he's once again didn't do anything great, but didn't do anything wrong, and didn't get himself involved in trouble. I mean, he did go for the lunge up the inside of Buemi. Let's not forget that. He was the red flag causer, but Buemi was driving that slow that he had to do something, because he was just hemorrhaging time, and if he didn't go for the lunge, someone would have lunged on him and they would have taken him out as well. So I'm sorry, what he did was perfectly okay and legitimate for me, and finishing 7th place, he deserved to pick up a few points for that. So I'm going to award him 7 points. 7 points to Norman Nato. I don't hold him responsible whatsoever for going for the lunge at Buemi, because Buemi was driving ridiculously slow and could have cost people a lot of, positions. Could have cost Norman. Norman could have got tipped into a spin because everyone else was bunching up behind him, who was bunching up behind Buemi. Had to go for the lunge. He went for the lunge. I don't blame him. 7 points to Nominato with the Nissan. Picking up a couple of points, and that's all he's really been doing these last few races. It's Pascal Wehrlein. I mean, this one was a little bit unfortunate because Pascal was actually shoved into the wall by Rene Rast, wasn't he? Just before the first of the red flags, or was this the second of the red flags? Can't quite remember. But either way, he was stuffed into the wall quite hard. Not his fault, he was just lunged at and attacked by Rene Rast. Then he was ordered that he had to go into the garage to get the nose fixed. Which meant he had to start at the back of the grid on the restart and climbed his way up to 9th to score a few points. So to be honest, yeah, all he's been doing is picking up a couple of points, but this is actually a worthy couple of points because he had all the bad luck going his way when he was actually in a good position. So Pascal Wehrlein, it's a middle of the road 5 from me. Don't feel like I can score any more or any less than that. It was just an average race, made some great recovery drive to pick up a couple of points, but just a shame he couldn't keep himself out of trouble because he'd have probably been on the podium. But yeah, as mentioned, luck didn't go his way this race, and it's the middle of the road 5 for that. Securing the final points paying position, it is Jake Hughes in the McLarens, finishing in 10th place. Where has McLaren's pace gone? I mean, Rene Rast had some good pace, didn't he? But then just didn't have the ability to keep hold of it. Jake Hughes was at the back of the grid and didn't do very well, didn't do much. And here he is picking up a lucky point, courtesy of problems that happened ahead, which we'll come to in a moment, which I've already coughed out once. For me personally, I've scored Jake 6.5. Maybe generous by a point there, I'll admit. But yeah, nothing special by Jake this race. But again, that McLaren just doesn't seem to have the overall pace, does it? As mentioned, Rene Rast was up there, but ultimately you can be up there, but if you throw it away, there's no point, is there? Whereas Jake Hughes managed to luck himself into a point, and it's a crucial point for their championship hopes of staying in 7th over Nissan, isn't it? So, could be crucial, this 1 point. So, 6.5 to Jake Hughes. Again, nothing special, but at least it's a point. And he's recovered something from his race weekend so far. And we'll see what happens in the next race coming up. But yeah, for now, 6.5 to Jake. Just outside the points, it is Stoffel Van Dorn in the DS Penske. Did he have a missing wing? Probably. Not been a great day for DS Penske whatsoever, has it? Van Dorn finishing outside the points. John Eric Verne retiring. Yeah, not been a great one. What could be said about Van Dorn's race, I don't really know. Can't really remember what happened to him. He did tip, of course, Eduardo Mortara into a spin. He ended up there finishing in 5th place. And yeah, Van Dorn, just not a great weekend, not a great season really, is it? Let's be honest. So for Stoffel Van Dorn, he's getting 2 points. 2 points on the cruel corner to him. And I'm afraid, yeah, that's as good as it's going to get for him. Just another bad race. Finishing in 12th place, it's Maxi Gunter, and I've got to be honest, I don't know what happened to him, so I'm going to apologise for that in advance. I thought he was doing really well at certain points, probably ended up without a wing, probably got caught up in the incident that Norman Nato and Buemi caused, where everyone bunched up and tagged each other and ended up causing the second of the red flags. So, yeah, you know, bit of a shame really that it all came to a head. Gunter, I don't know what happened to him. It's his first race outside the points for ages. And he didn't really have a bad race either. You know, it seems surprising that Mortara, that was tipped into a spin and dropped to last, finished 5th. Gunter was okay and doing quite well, and here he is outside the points. So I've scored him 4. I've scored him 4 points for Max Gunter. Don't want to criticise his race too much, but he's outside the points. Obviously the race and how it all unfolded just didn't go his way. Probably had some damage as well, I can't quite remember. There was a Maserati running around without a wing, wasn't there? So it probably was Maxi Gunter. But yeah, 4 points to Maxi Gunter. The first time for a long time that he's not picked up any points, and it was just one of those races where it was either your day or it wasn't, and it just wasn't his day. 4-2, Maxi Gunter. Finishing in an unlucky 13th place, it is Andre Lotterer. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, he's disqualified on the crawl room anyway, but Jesus Christ almighty, what has he been doing this season? I don't think I've seen anyone this bad in a single Formula E season since Marching Noir. You know what I mean? I genuinely think he's been that bad this year. I really, really do. I think he is worse than Bird as well, and Bird's took his teammate out twice. I mean, how bad is that? But Lotterer has been nowhere near to even take his teammate out. I just cannot believe how fewer points he's scored compared to a driver that's just gone and won the championship in the same car. Yeah, Lotterer needs to look at going back to GTs or something, because it's not happening for him in Formula E, is it? I can't see why any team would want him. Been a disastrous season. I can't see it getting any better for the next race. For the finale, is he going to go win the thing? No, he's bloody not, is he? He's going to be finishing dog shit last again. Lotterer, disqualified anyway, and really has been the worst driver on the grid this season. It's a shame to say, but it's an actual fact. Then we come to René Rast, and here he is. Unlucky in some respects to get the wing damage he did, and when he got it, and he had to stop, and then the red flag came out, and then he had to start at the back of the grid, and he couldn't make any progress from there, but he did shove Pascal Wehrlein off into the wall, didn't he? So, I can't really be too favourable for him for that. And he had a good race though up until he shoved Wehrlein off, and then he picked up his wing damage, of course, from that. So, yeah, big shame really. It could have been a potential podium for him this race had he just kept it clean. But as it wasn't to be. And René Rast, I'm going to score him in the middle of the row 5. And again, probably generous by a point like Jake. Just another disappointing race for McLaren. Rast was their best hope. It didn't come good. He threw it all away. So yeah, middle of row 5 to René Rast, and probably generous by a point as well. Then we come to Roberto Meri in the Mahindra, and I don't really know what I can say for his race. The car's not that great. Meri was jumped in at the deep end not so many races ago. Formula E is a completely different kettle of fish to adapt to, and did I expect anything special from him? No. Did I expect it to be a little bit better than what I've seen? Yes, I've got to be honest. I did think he'd be maybe, in a race like this that was that crazy, maybe on the fringes of points, maybe scraping A points. But as it was, he was P nowhere all race again. And it's okay to be anonymous at some times because you benefit from the dramas, but when you can't benefit from the dramas, like your teammate did, you don't need to have overall pace at times to be able to jump loads of places when they're all in the wall, Roberto Meri, it's 4 points to him. It's just been a bit of a shame this season for him. Like I said though, no grudges against him, no malice whatsoever. He's been thrown in at the deep end. He's trying his best to adapt. And at least he is bringing the car home in one piece, which can be more than said for other drivers that are taking the wings off every race, He's not done a great job for Mahindra, but what he has done is been able just to bring the car home, keep the sponsors happy, keep the car driving round. And, maybe something could happen for the next race, but I don't think it will. But Roberto Meri is just 4 points for now. Tough weekend once again so far, and just couldn't benefit from anything due to general lack of pace of the car and him still adapting to Formula E. Then we come to the final driver on this list that is classified as a finisher, but took a 3-minute time penalty. So it's Antonio Felix da Costa, who crossed the line in second place after qualifying in 18th. Now, he was given that 3-minute time penalty due to breaching the tyre infringement of the pressure too low in his front left or front right tyre. But the reason why it was too low and didn't meet the minimum pressure requirements was because it had a slow puncture, and the slow puncture was caused by the fact that René Rast was allowed to drive around for 4 laps with a wing flapping all over, fall into pieces. You had the likes of Cassidy's wing flying off in places. You had bits of debris everywhere for the entirety of the race, and da Costa had a damage. He had a slow puncture on the tyre. They asked the Porsche team, and Antonio Felix da Costa as a driver asked the FIA if it was okay for them to continue after the second red flag period, to continue with this slow puncture because they feel it could make it to the end, and if they didn't, they would pit during that final couple of laps and get it changed. And the FIA said, yeah, that is safe to race, no problems whatsoever. And then as soon as he goes out the pit lane and starts the race, they hand him a 3-minute time penalty for that tyre pressure being too low. What a load of fucking horse shit. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that the FIA have done this and that the stewards have awarded this type of penalty. That is disgraceful. The fact that you have given that team the green light to go out with a tyre like that surely means that you're going to put it under the terms force majeure, which is something that is out of everyone's hands. Yet we can see it's under the minimum pressures, but it's under the minimum pressures because it's actually going flat. That's not an advantage. That is a disadvantage, and we'll allow it. The fact that you allowed it to go out in that state, because otherwise they could have changed the tyre, but you'd have had to start at the back of the grid. So, you know, take the car apart, firmly, change the tyre, start at the back of the grid. Oh no, it's fine. Start where you are, and then award him a 3-minute time penalty. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So, the Porsche team have appealed this. Of course, this will rumble on and on and on and on and on. At the time of recording, he's still down here. But I am not going to award him points for finishing down here. Of course, I'm going to finish him and score him points for finishing up there in second place, where he rightfully belongs in my eyes. So I am awarding him 8 points. 8 points this weekend. And I've purely got to knock a couple of points off for the poor qualifying, because had he had a great qualifying, he could have won that easily, judging by the pace he had through the field. He climbed through the field so well. The strategy was well with the attack zones. Everything went Da Costa's way. And then the FIA be snipey bastards like that, and 1 minute allow it, and then the second that car goes out there, they slap a 3-minute time penalty on him. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. A total joke. And we're not finished yet with jokes, but for now, it's 8 points to Antonio Felix da Costa, and I hope he gets that second place reinstated, because Porsche deserve it, and da Costa certainly deserves it. Then we come to the list of retirements, of course, in the race. So the first on this list, the last to retire in the race, is Sasha Fenestraz. Big accident by Sasha. Decided to have an aeroplane accident over the back of one of the Neos. I believe that was Dan Tinktum's car. Either Dan weaved too late or Sasha just missed his braking point. Touched the wheel to wheel, and then he climbed over, went straight on, and was lucky not to T-bone or collect anyone else, to be honest. But a heavy impact with the tyre barrier, of course, with the Tech Pro barrier, meant it moved the concrete barrier behind it. So, not a comfortable accident, not something that you like to see, but glad Sasha was okay after the incident. Yeah, just a huge shame, really, for Sasha. He's had a season of ups and downs, hasn't he? He's been a good rookie, though, it must be said. He has delivered some good performances, but been unlucky a lot of times as well. This one was just a racing incident again, I feel. We didn't really see the incident early on enough to know that whether Sasha moved too late, whether Dan Tinktum moved too late, but there you go, that's racing, isn't it? So as you know, a maximum I can score a retirement is 5 points, and for Sasha Fenestraz, I'm awarding him 4. 4 points to Sasha Fenestraz overall for that performance. He was doing okay until that point, nothing special, but again, the Nissan wasn't really delivering anything special either, was it? So, yeah, 4 points to Sasha Fenestraz. Then we come to Nick Cassidy. Oh, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Poor Nick. I can't believe it. I really can't. There's nothing that I can say that's going to make it any easier, is it? But he is still in with a chance of this Cruel Room title. So, you know, maybe his fortunes will change here. I don't know. But, as you know, a retirement can only score a maximum of 5, and that is what Nick Cassidy is getting, a maximum of 5 points there. He did everything, didn't he? He did everything right, and he didn't expect his teammate to defend as vigorously as he did, for no good reason, really. And, yeah, it's a shame, a huge shame. I can't believe it. Nick Cassidy has been one of my drivers of the season, if not the driver of the season. I was really rooting for him, you know, I really was. And then when it all kicked off last time out, and I thought, well, Mitt Evans has took him out, and I thought, oh, well, it is advantage Jake Dennis, but you never know what will happen in Formula E, and it looked like it was going to go Cassidy's way, not for the overall title, but at least give him a shot going into the next race, and it just didn't happen, did it? It all came undone, and it was courtesy of his teammate, every step of the way. Bullshit, absolute bullshit. So Nick Cassidy, middle of row 5, can't believe it. Then we come to Nico Muller in the Alps, both Alps retiring in the race due to mechanical issues with their cars. Nico Muller had a solid qualifying performance, really, tumbled down the order a little bit, but then retired before any of the chaos and carnage kicked off. So if points were available, I'm sure Nico Muller would have scored them. Shame he couldn't. He was out before it all began. So yeah, Nico Muller, middle of the row 5 to him as well. Best I can score a retirement. And a huge shame to see both apps out due to mechanical issues in the race when they could have capitalised. They could have been there where Degrassi was and Dan Tinkton. You know, they could have been in 6th and 7th place easily. Easily had they just carried on a bit longer. But mechanical failures, it happens. And it just sums up a difficult season for Apt Cooper, really, doesn't it? They have been the firm back markers, and then it looked like they were starting to get ahead of the Andretti. Sometimes even the Nissan at times they were doing well. They did well in qualifying at Berlin. There was been flashes of moments where we looked like they could be doing well, but then you get to London, looks like they could have a chance to capitalise on points because it was all going wrong ahead. They're already out of the race, sadly. So yeah, middle row 5 to Nico Muller. Then we come to Jean-Eric Vergne, another DNF, and I've got to be honest, it was that chaotic in the race, I didn't even realise he'd retired. I just don't know what happened to him, to be honest. But just again, another difficult weekend for DS Penske, isn't it? You know, Van Dorn outside the points, harpooning Mortara. Jean-Eric Vergne, I don't know what happened. I assume it was damage during, you know, because of all the chaos and the debris that was out on the track. I assume, but yeah, as it is, I've scored him 3. 3 points out of a maximum of 5 there for Jean-Eric Vergne. Don't know why he retired, and I think I probably should do, but I don't. I'm sorry. I totally missed it. Could have been in the accidents, I don't know. But yeah, 3-2, Jean-Eric Vergne. Then we come to Robin Frijns. As mentioned, a retirement anyway, due to no fault of his own, a mechanical issue. I've awarded Frijns 3.5 though, because Muller had a much better qualifying performance, whereas Robin Frijns was down in 21st, I think, just beating Mary. The rest of them were obviously all ahead of him. So poor qualifying compared to Muller's much better one. And again, you know, had he stayed in the race a bit longer, I think he only did about 10 minutes of the race. So didn't do much, but it could have maybe capitalised on points. But I think their point scorer would have been Muller had they both been in the race and all the chaos unfolded, because Frijns just didn't quite look comfortable this race with that car, especially the qualifying. As mentioned, 21st place. His teammate was a lot higher up, so yeah. 3.5 to Robin Frijns. And then last but by no means least, we come to the disqualified runner of Sergio Sette Camara. Now, I believe he finished around 13th or 14th this race. If I remember rightly, I think he was ahead of Lotterer, wasn't he? Well, let's be honest, most drivers are ahead of Lotterer when they finish a race. But yeah, for Sette Camara, the Neo team was instructed to repair Sette Camara's front wing, of which they refused because they were not, the FIA and the stewards were not instructing every other team that had a damaged front wing to change their wing, just Neo. But we saw so many cars go out after the first red flag, after the second red flag. They all went out with no front wings. There was a lot of cars. In fact, there were probably more cars without front wings than there were with. But Neo were the only ones that were told to change it. So they didn't change it and they left the car as it was, and then they were promptly disqualified at the end of the race for not obeying team orders, you know, for not obeying the FIA's orders of changing the wing. Fucking bullshit, innit? It's bullshit again. I can't believe it. How on earth can you tell one driver and one team specifically you need to change your wing, which would have sent into the back of the grid, and then there's all the other cars going out with damage to the wing, to other parts of the bodywork, telling Porsche that it's fine to send a car out with a slow puncture on it and then give him a 3-minute time penalty. Something's not right. I think this is bullshit, this. Something not right at all. So Sergio Sette Camara, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not been a great race by Sette Camara at all, has it? You know, Dan Tinkton was up there in the points. Sette Camara wasn't scoring him anyway prior to the disqualification. Another tough race for Sergio Sette Camara, but yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that. But for Sergio Sette Camara, he's only getting 2 points anyway. Out of a maximum of 5, I can score a disqualification. I don't think I've ever had to score a disqualification, but I am. And yeah, he's getting 2 points because it was a lacklustre performance anyway. I just think that something's not quite right there within the stewarding and the FIA. And yeah, very, very bizarre. But as it is, 2 points to Sette Camara. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the London E-Prix, of course. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any drivers too high? Any too low? The results updated with the scores I've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. See where your favourite driver is. It's a tie. It's a tie at the top. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. It's a tie at the top. So the next race is all to play for the Cruel Corner champion to be crowned. I cannot wait. It's all down to these guys now. Is it going to be Jake Dennis? Is it going to be Nick Cassidy? Is Mitch Evans going to do anything ridiculously spectacular to let me award him magical bonus points so he can win? Anything's possible. You know how crazy this series is. You know how crazy Formula E is as well. So anything can happen. Sebastian Buemi takes a rightful tumble down towards the bottom of the pecking order now with his -10 for taking his teammate out and single-handedly assisting Jake Dennis with the championship. Call him bullshit. So yeah, as always, thanks go out to Dan of formerly Mushy Gaming, currently Dan Bartlett, for providing me with the scoreboards that you see on your screen at the beginning and the ends, because without him this series would be more pointless than it already is. And it's a real pleasure to get to work with Dan, it really is. He's an absolute genius, and like I said, without him this series couldn't continue because I can't keep track of things, I can't make a scoreboard. So yeah, it's greatly appreciated. Thanks so much, buddy, for all your efforts. So there we have everything, guys. I will see you all in tomorrow's episode at 5 PM for the finale. We're crowning a Cruel Corner champion for the first time. Who will it be? Will it be Jake Dennis? Will it be Nick Cassidy? Or will it be an outsider that I'm just going to give 50 points to so they can win? Stand by and find out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Thanks as always for the continued support with this series. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for the finale. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And as always, much love.